If you're sick of the mainstream sports outlets, well, so was I. So I started my own show. I'm Shane Larson, and this is the Game Time Guru. It's different than other talk shows. I'm providing a panoramic view on sports so you can see them through a different lens. So buckle up and let's go. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Game Time Guru podcast. As you know by now, my name is Shane Larson, your host, and today we've got a boxing legend out of Idaho who's coming to tell us about his journey. You're going to learn about perseverance all throughout his boxing career, which started, by the way, at the age of 7 or 8. He's going to tell us about the story of how that all got going. You're going to learn about his amateur career all the way through his professional career, talking about his training, the fights that he had, as well as the life lessons that he learned. You're not going to want to miss it. This is going to be a great show, and it's great for all those boxing fans out there, so tune in. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Game Time Guru podcast. Today, I'm joined by a local boxing legend, Mr. Cleveland Corder, and he's going to share his journey with us. So, Cleveland, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Oh, no problem, buddy.
So, Cleveland, you're a local legend, a boxer out of Idaho, but we're going to get into the gist of your career. It's someone I've looked up to. This is, a guy I used to watch consistently when I was younger, when I was 15 all the way to the time I was 18, just because I used to follow the fighters out of Idaho, because that's kind of what I was a fighter out of Idaho, and I only fought for a few years. I didn't have near the career that you had, but I did love the sport of boxing, and I still do. But I want to see, we're going to take it back in time to when fighting was something that, like, just, it stemmed from your youth. And I remember reading a story about something when you were like 7 years old, or at least a little kid. For some reason, 7 years old sticks in my head, but you were a little kid. Can you elaborate a little bit when, fighting was kind of in your blood and you remember that story, and just talk about that for a second?
Yeah, so the reason I started boxing was I grew up with a great mom and dad, but we were really low income. So we built our house in, like 76 or 75. The very first low-income housing project in the area was clear out on Desert View Road, or on Cuna Road in Cloverdale. It's clear out there by themselves. So when you're out there and you got a subdivision that's pretty much everybody's low income, fighting just becomes a part of it. But there was two guys that moved 3 houses down the street, 2 boys my age, same age, and we would play all the time. So I went down there and we were playing, and me and Joe Bickness, who were still just great friends, he's one of my best friends, we're wrestling out in the yard, and we got kind of, Joe's get off, and I'm trying to hold him down and stuff. We weren't fighting, we were just wrestling. And his dad comes out and picks us both up, and we're 8 years old. And back then they had cellars in the basement and stuff. And he hauls us down, throws us in the cellar, says, "You want to fight? You guys fight." And obviously we're 8-year-old kids staring at each other like, what? And he goes, "Fight. If you want to fight." And I'm just staring at Joe going, is this real? What is going on here? And he pushes or smacks Joe on the butt. "Joe, you said you were a fighter. You said fight." So Joe swung. I started swinging punches and punching Joe, and we were punching each other back and forth. And Dan's wife comes down, running down in the cellar, opens the door. "Dan, knock it off. So Joe and she breaks it up. She sends me home. I'm crying. Joe and I are bleeding. So I walk back to my house. It's 3 houses down. So I get home, and I'm thinking my dad's going to whoop this guy's butt. And I get in the shower. I tell Mom and Dad what happened. And they're like, "Go get in the shower." So I get in the shower, and I get out of the shower, and I hear Dan talking to my parents outside. And I come out in the living room. I'm like, "Did you beat him up?" And he goes, "No, but you joined boxing club." So that's how I joined the boxing club.
That is awesome. So that's so awesome. So you got that introduced pretty young, and I think that's awesome. I mean, it was pretty young and a pretty unique story. And so you started joining the boxing club, and you were just a little kid. Where were you fighting out of when you were out in Cuna, Idaho? Where's this boxing club that you joined?
So Dan worked nights, so he used to drive me, Joe, and David, and we would drive all the way into Meridian, which the boxing club was literally off of Franklin Road, right across. I mean, literally, it was right across from this old bar. This guy had a big garage in the back of his house, and the ring and the bags and everything were all hung up in there, and we used to go there. I fought for Vista for quite a long time before Dan opened up his own club.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is cool to hear because this is like the original fighters from Idaho. Now, for the listeners who have, listened to my show for the last 2 years, they know that I fought. They know that I've mentioned it a couple times, but let's just kind of give a little bit more information there. I fought for the Vista Boxing Club, which was a Golden Gloves organization, for 2 years, and I fought for Al Barrow's Boxing Club. It was in the same gym here in Idaho when I was on the Boise State club team for boxing. And what people don't realize, Cleveland, is that there were some good fighters in Idaho. Obviously, you were one of them, and so we all looked up to you when we were younger guys. But there were some good fighters. People don't realize that there was some boxing talent around here in Idaho. But I kind of want to get your input, because you not only boxed, you competed at a very high level through the amateur rankings. So I kind of want to get, some information on your amateur career and how you decided to go through the Golden Gloves tournaments and go through, to at least to fight for the Olympics and such, the qualifiers and whatnot. So can you elaborate on your amateur career and how that all took off here in Idaho?
Yeah, so this will give someone some inspiration. I was a horrible boxer. When I started, I lost my first 13 fights. 13 fights in a row I lost. But every time I saw a kid win a boxing match, you got a trophy. Now I played basketball, I played football, I did track. You didn't get anything unless you won the state championship, and then you get a little medal. And I'm seeing all these guys play all these games, and they're not getting nothing. But I see every time you box, if you win, you get a trophy or a shirt or a jacket or something. And I just wanted a trophy so bad. So finally, my 13th fight, I fought in Nissa, Oregon, and Chuck Mahana, who was my boxing coach, who actually ran the Vista Club, came up to me and goes, "I think we got someone you're going to win. I think we're going to win." And I'm like, I've heard that before, right? So I get in the ring, and I'm literally a foot and a half taller than this kid. I'm like, I might win one. So I beat the kid, got my trophy, and when I got that trophy, I still have it today, I go, I've got to get another one. So I'd lose another 8 or 9 fights, and then I'd win a trophy, and I got to get another one. So I started at 8 years old. I did not become a 50-50 fighter till I was 15. And I was put on the Junior Olympic boxing team in 1988. We went to Marquette, Michigan, and the guy that beat me won my division at 119 pounds was Oscar De La Hoya.
No way.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So you did come up from, you just kept fighting. That's perseverance right there. You keep fighting, lose your first 13, get a trophy, lose your next 8 or so, get another trophy. And it's awesome to hear that that's kind of what you used as your motivation. I think people, especially like my family members who will remember this, I was very similar in regards to how I thought of like football. So I played Optimist football growing up, and I got so mad one year because they gave us a pair of shorts and I wanted a trophy. See, like I was a huge trophy guy. I liked having trophies. I got a pair of shorts and I was so pissed. So that's so funny to hear that. I did not know that piece of it. So you go through, you're fighting the Junior Olympics. Oscar De La Hoya, that's crazy to hear that that's in that same era, but it's kind of cool because now we can, hindsight, look back and see how, his career took off, obviously. How long did you stay in the amateur ranking? So you fought in the Junior Olympics, but talk about, I've seen a couple of fights on ESPN, your highlights from back in the day when you were still an amateur. I think it was the Golden Glove Nationals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I wanted to win a national title. That was my big goal, or represent the USA. If I could represent the USA, that was it. So I kept going. when I was 16, I lost at the regionals in Denver, Colorado. The guy that beat me in the regionals won the nationals that year. The guy that beat me. And I'm like, I can do this. So I go in 92, I get a bronze medal, a silver medal. 93, I got a silver at the National Golden Glove Finals. I'm like, I gotta do this. But I got a call from USA Boxing, and they wanted to put me on the United States boxing team. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So I fought USA versus Russia in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and I was one of only 3 Americans to win that fight. So after I beat Russia, and you get the national anthem and everything, I felt like, oh, this is my career. This is great. So I went home. I said, man, I got to go back to school and get a job. So 94 and early in the beginnings of 95, I didn't box. I started running with the wrong crowd. I started doing the wrong things. My mom and dad come to me and sit me down, and they're like, dude, you got to get back to boxing. I'm like, why? They're like, you're just not a good character. You just got to get back to boxing. When you were in boxing, you were going to church. You were doing the right thing. You got saved through boxing. You gave your life to the Lord through boxing. You just have fallen away, and you've got to change. And I'm looking at my parents. I'm like, you've never been to church a day in your life. They're like, well, we want what's best for you. We're not worried about us. We're worried about you. And and then spending 2 weeks thinking about that, and she goes, my mom's like, just reflect on your life the last year. Tell me what good thing has come about it. I was like, okay. After a couple weeks, I said, all right, I'm going to get back into boxing. So I started training. Chuck Mahana, who was my coach, his son Ty Mahana started training me. We went to the Pound Nationals in 95. I win my first 3 fights. My 4th fight, the guy headbutts me and splits my eye wide open, so I had to get I couldn't fight along anymore, so there was no sense in the guy that I was fighting not go on. I come home, I'm training, I go to the U.S. Championships that year in 1996 for the Olympics. I lose in the finals, I get another silver medal, but I lose to David Reed, who I meet in the box-off, and beats me, and he goes on and wins the gold medal in 96. So I told myself I'm going to try one more year. So I went and I fought Korea. I beat Korea in 97. I came back and I won the whole national Golden Gloves that year. Only guy from Idaho to win it. And then I was also chosen the Golden Boy of the tournament. So I was the outstanding boxer of the National Golden Gloves tournament. And that was like, okay, you can be done. You've accomplished a lot. So I came home, and then I started getting calls from Bob Arum, Lou Duva, Don, getting calls to turn pro. So I went and visited a few places, and I chose Bob Arum to go pro with.
Wow. Okay. So, again, it seems like it's a constant reminder to all of us that perseverance was a big factor in your life. You continued to, push through. And even when things got tough, whether it would be in your life or in your boxing career, things got tough, you keep going, and you kept trying, which is really cool to see because it's not easy to do. In the boxing world, that's not easy to do. When I take it for myself, I can use my own example. My last fight, I got busted up. Like, I didn't get knocked out, but I got beat up pretty good. And for being in the amateurs and having headgear on, my face was pretty bloodied. When you think you're supposed to be protected with the headgear, it definitely wasn't. I was getting popped pretty good, and it kind of defeated me. And I never actually trained after that. I was like, this isn't the sport for me. Whereas someone like yourself, you kept going, and you knew you were going to be able to do something bigger, and you kept trying. So I think that's awesome, and it's very inspirational. And you decided you're going to go pro. Now, where did you go to train? Where was this location at, and was it difficult leaving to, essentially turn this into your career?
So I asked, when I turned pro, everybody that courted me, I said, I want $50,000 up front. I want a $50,000 signing bonus. I want this much per fight, this much per thing. I love Kenny, and I wouldn't be who I am without Kenny King, because him and I were basically, me, Kenny, and Ed Dalton were training partners. We just trained together pretty much our whole pro careers. Well, not Kenny's. Kenny, I didn't turn pro till 97, so, but we needed each other, but I didn't want to stay around here. I wanted to get, to the world titles as fast as I could, and not spend, 20 years in the ring like a lot of guys do. So I kind of made a goal at 97, going to retire in 2007. So I signed with Bob Arum, who had Sugar Ray Leonard, Hagler Duran, Oscar De La Hoya. He signed a few people out of the Olympics. So going with him I thought would be the best bet for me. So I was training here for a while, but the sparring wasn't what I needed. With Kenny and Ed, I can hit him as hard as I want, not hurt him and stuff, but I need someone with speed. So I got married in 97, and I lived in Vegas and my wife lived here. While I was training in Vegas, I would fly home once a week and to be with my wife and stuff. So I trained in Vegas, lived here. I did that for 2 years, and I finally told Bob Arum, I got to go home. I can't do it. So I came home and I signed a big contract with the Coeur d'Alene tribe in northern Idaho to be their main event fighter up there. So we moved up there together.
That's awesome. Okay, so when you started training, can you explain the difference between the training style when you went down to Vegas, finally made the move? What was the training like for the professional level compared to what you had, been experiencing the majority of your career up until that point here in Idaho?
So my trainer I had down in Vegas was like Roosevelt Sanders, who's been a boxing coach since the 80s, or literally old school. He ran the 84 and 88 Olympic team, won all those gold medals, and he was training me. It was crazy. We would be out at 6 a.m. running 6 miles. We'd go home, go eat, come back, go to the gym, do a gym workout, and then we'd come back at night and do a sparring session. Versus here, you just run and hit the gym. Yeah, it was really different. Listen, I bounced between him and Pat Barry, who had Augie Sanchez. I bounced between those two as trainers. After a little while, I just said, I can't be away from my wife this long. It was driving me nuts. So that's when I jumped and came here, and my wife and I moved to Coeur d'Alene.
I can totally understand that, though. Family comes first for sure. And so it's cool that it worked out for you, though, as far as like you still got to, sign on with, going up to Coeur d'Alene and have a pretty good gig there. I want to talk about your professional career, though, Cleveland. You said you started your amateur career. Obviously, you're a little kid, but lose your first 13. How did your professional career start in regards to your record and how you were competing?
It was awesome. So my amateur career, I was a pretty strong. I hope to say I am. I'm a strong believer. I'm a strong believer in Christian. So I'm fighting and everything's just rolling good. I think I was 13-0 or 14-0 at the time. Then I get offered a fight at the Playboy Mansion, and I'm really like, gosh, should I go? Should I not go? Should I go? And I finally take it, and I take one of the pastors from my church with me to the Playboy Mansion. I fight down there at the Playboy Mansion, and I get dropped, I think, the first round, and I get a huge cut spliced right over my eyeball. And instead of having a cut, man, I took my guy from my pastor from church, and he didn't have any idea how to close the cut or anything. And just lessons learned. So I ended up losing that. I think then they cut it down to a 4 or 6 round fight. So I ended up losing a decision to that guy, and that's when I decided to come back to Boise. Yeah, and then I came to Boise, and then Coeur d'Alene made me a big offer to go up there with Mo Smith, who a lot of people might know him. Mo Smith, he trained me in Coeur d'Alene. Used to be Gorgeous George's wrestling partner. He used to train. He used to train George Foreman, Michael Moore, a lot of people. So he's been in the business forever. So I started training with him up in Coeur d'Alene and being the main event fighter for the Coeur d'Alene Casino.
Dang, that's crazy. And when I look at your career, as far as like, especially a lot of the earlier fights in your professional career, a lot of these, Cleveland, were like within a month, 2 months, 3 months of each other. Like you'd fight one, another month later you fight another one, 3 months later you fight another one. It seems like you didn't really have too long between bouts. Were you don't have to get into numbers, but did you, as a professional, you mentioned like a signing bonus that you wanted, but were you paid per fight, or was it a contract, or how did that work on that scale?
No, so I was paid a monthly installment, plus I was paid per fight.
Okay. So is that pretty much normal for, professionals that are coming up through the ranks like that to be on a similar structure?
I have no idea.
Okay.
That's just the way I wanted it. I did not want to. I wanted a monthly installment just so I didn't have to, live fight to fight. So I got a monthly installment, and then I fought a lot because I wanted to get my career in 10 years. Oscar fought for 20 years, I think, or 18 years. I didn't want to fight that long. Kenny King, I think he fought 16, 17 years. I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to fight that long, so I knew what I had in my head if it was going to work for me to turn pro, and they accepted it, and it worked for me.
I love it. I think it's really interesting how it worked out. I think it's cool. And if they let you fight and you're able to fight, it's more impressive on your part that you were able to recover, then fight, then recover, then fight, and it's just, that's not very common. Just in case anybody out there is listening, that's not common. So I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was better for me because as I was getting older, I needed to stay in the gym longer. So it's easier for me to take a couple weeks off and get back in the gym.
Totally. All right. So Cleveland, you're going through your career. I kind of want to bring up this topic of a fighter that she lost to twice, and it's Jesse Brinkley. The reason I want to bring up Jesse Brinkley is because for any boxing fan out there who paid attention to the sport back in the day, and I'm talking in my high school days, I'm a junior in high school when this was going on, but The Contender was a TV show. Jesse Brinkley happened to be on The Contender, and I remember it being kind of a headline here in the local news that you had fought the guy off of The Contender and this and that. It seems like you had this thing with Jesse Brinkley because he had beaten you twice and you wanted to fight him again, and it doesn't seem like you ever got the opportunity to fight him again. And why was that? Did you want to get that rematch for the third fight to make sure that you were able to beat him?
Well, no. This is the one thing I love and hate about boxing. So I can go in and dismantle a guy. So our first fight, me and Jesse's first fight, was up in Coeur d'Alene, and it landed a round or 2 rounds, I can't remember, and I dismantled him. But he caught me with an uppercut, and I was out cold. The second fight, I dismantled him for 8 rounds. It's a 10-round fight. I dismantled him for 8 rounds, and in round 9 he catches me, and I'm out cold. So I can win every round of all 10 rounds, but if he catches you with one shot, he wins. And it just had it's like a thorn in my side. I know I can beat him. I proved I beat him 9 rounds out of the 10 rounds we fought. But if he lands that punch, you're out. He did really good on The Contender. Who was the other Contender guy I fought? I fought another guy off The Contender here at Boise State University. Anyway, so he's a great competitor, and we were looking at setting up the fight again here, but doing it here in Boise versus in Coeur d'Alene, and the money backer fell out. So we didn't move on with that.
Is Jesse the only fighter that you never beat, I should say? Because didn't you have another fighter that you'd fought after losing to and beat him?
So yeah, the guy that I fought at the Playboy Mansion, we fought here in Boise, and I beat him here in Boise pretty good.
Is that Ron Johnson?
Yes, there you go. Look at you.
Ron Johnson. I'm telling you, I remember your career. I just the names were coming up, and I just remember these things that are like. As soon as we scheduled this interview, I was like, I'm trying to think of all the things that I remembered, and those were coming up. So that's the crazy thing you brought up. Is boxing is like that. Any fighting sport, for that matter, is you can beat someone and strategically outbox them and beat them, but if they catch you, all it takes is that one catch, and that happened twice, and that's unfortunate that happened, because on the records, all it shows is 2 losses, and it's tough because you can't, like, an analyst who watches that will be able to see that, but sometimes not everybody sees it. All they see is 2 losses, and they don't actually understand what happened behind the scenes, and that's frustrating, but it's cool to see that you still picked yourself up and continued on with your career to finish it off. Talk about your final push of your career up until the time that you decided to hang him up in 2007.
So I was looking for the IBA title. So I loved the IBA title because the guy that was the president of the IBA title, Oscar De La Hoya won it off of oh my goodness, Ike Corte, and but the guy that ran the IBA title was a Cy Young Award winner for the Cleveland Indians, and I'm a huge Cleveland Indians fan. So I wanted to get that in here so I can meet the guy that was the president of the IBA title, and so I got that. And then Joe Frazier was my favorite heavyweight of all time, and he won the NBA title, so I wanted to get one of those because Joe Frazier won one of those. And then the IBC title, Idaho International Boxing Council, I was ranked number 1 in their thing, so they put their title up too. Gotcha. So I wanted those titles, and I won it. I did the IBA. I already won it, so I defended it for the world. My last fight, I wanted it for all the titles. I wanted to defend what I had and get the ones that I didn't. And I had to do it with a top-ranked, top 10 guy. So
that's super cool, though. Do you have your belts or anything hanging up still? Do you got everything?
Yeah, I've got all my belts and all my well, no, I take that back. My wife made me get rid of all the 56 trophies I had except for the special ones. She made me strip them and donate them.
Oh, that's awesome, though. That's funny.
Don't you think another little kid will enjoy it as much as you did? No.
Dude, you don't want to give up those trophies, man. They're important. That's super cool, though, that you did exactly what you wanted to do, and that was to go through. You finished where you wanted to finish, and you finished in the time that you wanted to finish, and that was in 2007, and you did that. I kind of want to know, as we're kind of wrapping this up and talking about your career, you have children. Do you think, judging by your career and what you've learned through boxing, do you want to allow your kids to fight, or do you encourage that for your kids or other kids? Do you encourage boxing and other fighting sports for the lessons that it taught you?
I encourage it. Like I have a heavy bag hanging in my garage, and a double-ended bag and a spring bag in my garage. I will teach my kids how to fight or to handle themselves. They have, my oldest, my 17-year-old, and my 13-year-old have chose not to box, and that's fine. That doesn't bother me a bit. But they will learn how to defend themselves. I got a 7-year-old who really wants to box, and but I'm going to wait till he's 10, and I'm going to say, all right, you ready to do it, and then if he wants to, then we'll do it. But I think people need that one-on-one sport, whether it be baseball, because baseball's kind of one-on-one and stuff. You try to be better, but I encourage kids to get out there and learn to do something where it's all you. It's all on you, and what you put into it is what you get out of it. And that's in a lot of sports, but boy, there's nothing harder than sitting in the middle of the ring and the other guy's hand being raised.
Oh, absolutely. This is great talking to you. I used to say that all the time. I mean, I grew up playing football and basketball all through high school too, but sometimes in those team sports, even if you're the main guy, sometimes you can get it's a team effort, and that's just how it is. But when it came to boxing, it was something that, even when I would get beat, and even when I won, like there was just something about it. You knew that you actually had to come to work and you had to put in work, or else you were gonna get beat up. Like that's the thing, and it was kind of a satisfaction. It was a weird satisfaction you got going in there, even when you're getting hit. Like you put the work in, and that's kind of like that's the reward. You either get hit or you hit somebody else, and it was just something. I don't know. It's a weird satisfaction about it, but I totally agree with you. Now, Cleveland, if you could share with the listeners, the biggest lesson that you learned through boxing that you can actually translate to your real life, whether it be with work or anything else, your relationships, whatever, anything, a life lesson that you learned through boxing that you're able to transfer.
Not everything's going to go your way. Not everything's going to run perfect. But I've learned in life that you can always turn lemon into lemonade. You can always make something better, even if it's not. When I lost those national championships, every time, there's always another day. The sun does shine again and stuff. And if I could tell my old self, don't dwell on it. Move on and move on and just get better next time. Is the best thing I can tell you. You may fail in your business. Well, maybe that wasn't the business you were meant to be. There's always something else out there for you, and there's always a brighter, shinier day the next day.
I love it, and I appreciate you sharing your story with us. Is there anything you'd like to share before we sign off today, Cleveland?
Don't ever cut yourself short. I lost 13 fights in a row, but I always wanted that trophy. Always reach for your dreams. That's all I can say is reach for those dreams, because you never know when you're going to catch them.
I love it. And I appreciate you joining us, Cleveland. And for all the listeners out there, hope you enjoyed the story as much as I did. And you guys know the drill. We'll talk to you guys next week. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review. It would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.